My dear students, it's been very long time since we talked about subject, and it was pandemic situation, and you all were like not very sure about examinations, and this is the right time to start preparing for examinations if you are very late. I hope majority of you were in touch with the subject, but still we know that many students lack this interest and they start very late. Now this is the right time to start, and with respect to biology, we'll start with my own subject. We will talk about a blueprint being prepared for examination, but before we start about blueprint, let me remind you that whenever we talk about biology, there are more diagrams which are actually being thought as important in examination. Right? So let us now start talking about diagrams which are important in each and every subject. It's mainly the initial part of the so-called units which will have more diagrams, and trust me, last year when your seniors wrote this examination, 22 marks, that is passing marks, were been given only in diagrams itself. So diagrams become very important part. So let us start talking about diagrams which are important for examination and also learn the trick to draw these diagrams. Okay. To start with, the very first chapter which has got diagram is sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Quite an important chapter. This year almost we get 12 to 14 marks from this particular chapter. Almost some say it is 13, some say 12, but say let us keep it for 13 itself. One 5-mark question is for sure and one 3-mark question is for sure. So mostly what we expect in this 5-mark and 3-mark question is diagrams. Okay. So to start with, this chapter starts by talking about structure of a flower. Structure of a flower is not really important. Even if they ask, it is so simple that you can draw it by yourself. Let us learn how to draw it. The stalk of the flower is known as pedicel. It is this part what you hold on rose day and give it to someone. This structure is known as pedicel. On the stalk, you have a swollen bundle, a swollen base. We call it as thalamus. On thalamus, we have outermost green layer which is known as calyx. We also call it as sepal. Calyx, individually known as sepal. Okay. Now, on that you have a colored oral. This is that colored part which is important for us. Okay. This colored oral is a one which is gonna attract pollinators. It's gonna attract Romeo or Juliet, and then they make sure that they give it to the other person. Okay. So this is corolla, individually known as petal. And then we have next oral, starting from here, we call it as androecium. This is male reproductive part. Okay? Androecium. I'll write it here. Androecium. This androecium has got two parts. The upper part, this particular region, is gonna be known as anther, and then the stalk of this is known as filament. Okay. Now, then we have female part at the center with stigma, style, and swollen base known as ovary. So you can name it stigma. This region is known as style, and the swollen base is known as ovary. All put together is gynoecium or pistil. This is a very simple diagram, not mostly expected. In examination, I don't think they'll give you this particular diagram, but there are chances. Examiner, if he wants to set the paper very easy, they can give you this diagram. Okay? The next diagram is the most important diagram, that is androecium part. What we do over here is we'll remove this anther, then take cross section of it. Say if this is the anther. Okay? I am taking out this anther, then I am taking cross section of this. and then observing under microscope. How does that look like? It is very important diagram for 5 marks.